would always put something in the middle of the table for stuff people to help themselves. I hate stingy portions, especially when it's something as delicious as vongole. And I'm from Somerset, so I'm a big rolling hills gal, like at dusk in a field with a sunset, like with vineyards but like shabby chic minimalist, natural florals all the way down, loads of mayonnaise. Did I say mayonnaise? I love mayonnaise. I'm the least likely to get wasted at my own dinner party. Okay, time to go.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tables to Talk About. This week I am joined by the brilliant Rosie MacKean, a trained chef turned recipe developer, food writer and self-confessed pasta queen, best known for her love of hosting and her Substack newsletter The Dinner Party, which is packed with comforting recipes and clever hosting tips. We chat all about what it's like being pregnant while working in the food world, plus everything dinner party related, from low stress hosting tips to her dream menu, her deep love for Italy, and a few icks she just can't ignore. It's warm, it's relaxed, and it's full of delicious inspiration, the kind of episode that will have you texting your mates to plan your next dinner party immediately. Let's get into it. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. We were just chatting off recording about bumping into each other on the weekend. It's very easy to spot another pregnant lady at the Lido.
Yeah, we're the ones taking up all the space, all the shade from everybody else.
I feel like there isn't really any shade.
Yeah, it's minimum shade at Brockwell Lido. It's true. But it's great people watching.
Incredible people watching.
It was really nice. I actually went by myself, was a bit like, oh, is this going to be really bleak? And actually I had the best time. I was literally just like everybody doing their thing, the little families and all the sort of like people who are very obviously super hungover.
It's such a good mix, isn't it? Especially on the weekend when they've got family swim and you're like, this is chaos, but in the best way.
Yeah, loved it.
I watched when I was there the other day, they like stop the family swim at a certain point and they like blow the whistle and all the kids have to get out. There was this one kid who was just like not having it. It was like the best people watching 20 minutes ever. He was like not having it. His mum kept being like, no, like you actually have to get out now. And every time she tried to grab him, he just ran and jumped back in again. And all the lifeguards were like, how can we solve this? And the mum was just getting like more and more irritated. And it was like really, really great to watch.
That's going to be us.
No, I was like, enjoy it while it's not yours. How are you doing generally?
Generally good, 6 months pregnant in the heat wave, and you know better than I do because you're practically 9 months pregnant, right?
I'm confused about the months, to be honest. I don't know if you have this, because pregnancy's actually 10 months, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 10 months. It's a solid 10 months.
So I'm like working to weeks, and then when I try and explain it to people, they just don't understand.
I keep seeing TikToks of people being like, I've been pregnant for Christmas, New Year's, Easter, this. And I'm like, that is so true. I was pregnant for all of those things. I didn't know I was pregnant at Christmas.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. Oh.
But like quite early pregnant, so it was quite hard. We ended up telling everyone anyway, but went for an early scan, like just in case, because I was like, we don't want to tell everyone at Christmas without having, because it's really weird when you first, this is going to be really uninteresting for anyone who's not pregnant or doesn't understand, but when you first get pregnant, you're like, where do I go? What do I do? Who do I call? And like, nobody really cares until you're like 12 weeks. Like you don't even have an appointment. So we were just like, I feel like we need to know something is actually there before we tell anyone. I was like, there's no way I can get through a Christmas and not tell anyone, because as soon as I'm not drinking or not eating any of the, like, all the Christmas foods you can't eat when you're pregnant.
Yeah, the cheese. Oh my God.
The cheese, like cured meats, pate, smoked salmon.
I wouldn't have got through the not telling people phase if it hadn't been the fact that it was January and like I just didn't see anyone for 5 weeks. We were really lucky. But I was like, if I'd bumped into my mum, luckily she doesn't live in London, but if I'd bumped into her, I would have been like, I can't even look at you. You're like, I can't because I have a big fucking secret and you're gonna be so excited.
Was it a relief to finally tell everyone?
I mean, it was such relief. We did exactly the same thing. We had an early scan and told everyone pre-12 weeks. I would actually say it was the hardest thing about it. The whole pregnancy for me was being sick, feeling sick, not actually being sick, but feeling sick and keeping a secret and like not being able to be honest with anyone about how I actually felt, which was dreadful and terrified. And that I would probably not do it again. Like I would actually be tempted to just tell everyone who is like nearest and dearest straight away, just so I could have a little bit more of a like, because it's really dumb. Because if anything, you don't tell anyone because you're like, I'm too scared to lose the baby. This has got to be a secret for a minute. But then actually, if you lost the baby, the people you would tell are the same people. So why aren't you telling them? Like,
Yeah, that's kind of what we came to. We were like, it's just easier. It's just easier. Like I told my sisters and my mum and like some of Sam's family is before. But yeah, it's a really weird one.
wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Past that now, and we've got bigger fish to fry in the third trimester, but we won't get on to that. I haven't even asked you to introduce yourself yet.
Yes, hi, I'm Rosie. Obviously, I'm pregnant.
Do you want to let people know like what you do if they don't already follow you?
I am a chef, food writer, food stylist, content creator. I actually started in restaurants 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago now, after I left uni and I'd gone on a little gap year and I was loving cooking and cooking in the West Country where I grew up, and decided to move to London and do a culinary training course and then get a job in restaurants because I was just like absolutely obsessed with food. And I did work in restaurants for just under 2 years, but I quickly realized it just wasn't for me. Like, it is a very tough life that I don't think I'm built for. It wasn't a great, like, now I would say there's a better hospitality culture. Back then there wasn't. I say back then like I'm 40 years old, but I wanted to work in the food industry. I found out about food styling is a very catch-all term. When I say it, I mean kind of like working in the production of food content. So whether that's stills for editorial magazines, cookbooks, stills photography, or whether you're actually on TV shows, cookery shows, working behind the scenes, making any food for camera is what I would categorize as like part of food styling. And that ended up being what I fell into. And I started working freelance in that industry and did that for about 5 years. And then during COVID, we all lost our jobs. In the end, COVID wasn't too bad because the TV industry managed to work out how to insure its TV shows. So I actually worked quite a lot in COVID, but at the beginning of COVID, there was like a 6 to 8 months where I was absolutely like no work at all. And that's when I started sort of accidentally on purpose growing my Instagram, because I was filming tutorials for pasta recipes in my kitchen every Tuesday night. Tutorial Tuesdays, I called it.
It's funny when you look back, isn't it? And you're like, did I do that?
So Instagram sort of organically became like another part of my freelance life. About a year after COVID, I was like, I've been working for a lot of other people, but I love sharing my own recipes. I'm really enjoying it on Instagram. I think I want to focus on sort of growing my own, brand, I guess, not brand in a very loose term. And one of the ways I wanted to do that, I was desperate to write a cookbook. I was desperate to write. I love writing. I love recipe writing. And I've done lots of ghost writing in my years as a freelancer. So I was like, but I might start a newsletter then. So I started a Substack newsletter called The Dinner Party, because one of the questions I got asked very, very regularly was like, what would you make for a dinner party? Like, how would you cook for a few more people than, So I was like, that's maybe something useful people would need. And so the Substack started in 2022, and it's now 2025 if anyone is counting. So it's 3 years that I've been doing that. And I got a book deal about 9 months after I started the newsletter.
Wow, that's so quick.
Yeah, I was really lucky that it all just sort of came together.
Mm.
And the book was published last year. It's called Good Time Cooking, and it is basically an extension of the Substack. It's a dinner party cookbook with menus, and sort of like the thing that is, I hope, the most useful about the way I write my menus is that they are all planned for like advanced prep. So you have a little guide of how to get ahead 3 days in advance. Sometimes you can get ahead a week in advance. Like, the idea is that in restaurants, you would never ever just prep everything right before you serve it. You actually get ahead loads in restaurants. You're constantly working 3 days ahead of your menu. And that's how I've approached my writing, is that like people at home can do that too. It's actually shouldn't be a secret that that's what you can do. Like, not everything has to be spanking fresh. Like, you can make something 2 days before.
No, that's such a good point. Like, why do we not think like that about dinner parties?
I think there is an element of like, I'm obviously cooking constantly, so spending a bit of time like during the week to just make something isn't that big of a deal for me. But for people who are doing other jobs, there isn't that natural inclination to be like, oh, while I'm doing this, I'll just make that quick dressing and put it in the fridge. Like, but actually, if you can like spread the load, you end up feeling way less stressed on the day. Things are more delicious. You've got opportunities to just actually sit and chat to people rather than like a huge fucking mess in your kitchen and then be like, I hate it all.
Disaster.
Then this year I got invited to co-host a podcast produced by QI called Lunchbox Envy. It's like a nerdy food fact podcast, very much like ingredient focused. Every episode is talking about one thing specifically. So we just did an episode on pizza. There's an episode on olives, wine. Tomorrow we're recording some new material. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you it's between 2 slices of bread. Yeah, it's basically kind of like chatty food facts, history, culture, food ways.
Today we're going to be talking about your dream dinner party. So, ultimate dinner. How do you feel about hosting?
I'm very controlling. I think the chef in me doesn't like the idea that someone else has had any responsibility for any of it. So like, when my husband and I host, he has his very specific role of wine, and I am very specifically in charge of food. And if there is something he can do to help, I'm getting better at relinquishing the control over that. I'm getting better at unclenching and like being like, not everything needs to be styled or like perfect within an inch of its life, but there is just, a very perfectionist side to me. But at the same time, I think the other truth about chefs is that we're all huge people pleasers, and the best joy we get out of making food is when it makes someone else smile. And like, so hosting for me is very intoxicating, because it's like, I put something down in front of you and you love it. I'm like, I've done my job. That's perfect.
And also, if you share the load, then you have to share the
glory.
The glory. Yeah, exactly. So you're like, this was all me. You're welcome, everyone.
I saw like a meme the other day. It was just like, the devil couldn't find me, so he made me a feminist who absolutely loves doing like pink jobs in the house. And one of those is like being this host who's like desperate to do all the cooking. And I was like, yeah, that's so true.
I think you're right. I think there's something so lovely about like that hosting people and like feeding people and like showing your love through cooking and sharing. Would you be hosting your dream dinner party, or are you going to let somebody else host?
Yeah, really good question. I think I probably would, but it would be magically no work at all. Like, if this is a parallel universe where we get all of our desires, it would be my dinner party, my food, but I wouldn't have felt any of the stress or like beautiful, perfect thing that's come together very naturally and easily. No stress, no washing up.
Well, you can have someone washing up for you.
Oh yeah, I can have a helper, couldn't I? Tom. I choose Tom, my husband.
I do think people don't stretch their imaginations far enough with this dream dinner thing, because it's like you say, like, you can do whatever you like. It can be like all of this stuff that you magically prepared, have no recollection of magically preparing or stressing over. Or
exactly, yeah. It's like you've had anesthesia right before, so you don't remember the fact that you've been cooking it all, and you're just like, perfect, that's all come out great.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so you are going to be hosting with minimal stress and your husband as a helper.
And yeah, and choosing delicious wine, because he does actually do that.
How do you generally like go about preparing for a dinner then?
I'll definitely aim to have something in advance, and obviously there is the caveat of like, because my job is constant recipe development and cooking, sometimes I might have something I've already got. Like, for example, we've got people coming over on Friday night. I made a semi-Fredo yesterday and I only took one slice out of it. So I was like, perfect, that's pudding. Like, that'll sit in the freezer for the week and we've got it. Generally speaking, I always try and make sure there's some stuff done. I always am really, I think it's the food safety person in me, the training I've had to do. I'm really hot on dietaries. Like, I want to know before like I think of anything to do with the dinner party. I'm always like, if it's Tom Cruise, I'm like, please can you get me some dietaries from them? Like, because realistically, someone's always got something. And it's not that it's like super stressful for me. It's just that forewarned is forearmed. My worst nightmare would be either, there's two worst nightmares. One, you have someone come to your house and they can't eat anything. Two, they come to your house, they eat something, they have an allergic reaction, it's your fault. Or you give someone food poisoning, God forbid, that's another worst. It's not very relaxed of me, but I'm just like, I need to know, because then I can eliminate some stuff. You know, if like there's a nut allergy, I know I won't touch any nuts.
Yeah, you're not getting too involved in your dinner party planning before you have to change it all.
Exactly. That's the other thing. You know, I don't want to waste any money. I don't want to waste any time. Like, and also I tend to find that sometimes restriction breeds more creativity than other, you know, like complete free will. Like, if I know that I have a vegan person, I'm like, right, well, what can I make that's like good for vegans but good for non-vegans that we can kind of like adapt? And that's sometimes where you find you make your best stuff, is because you're kind of on the back foot a bit and you're like, right, shit, fuck, I need to like figure this out. So that's my next planning stage. Then I'll come up with a menu depending on like how I'm feeling. Truthfully, at the moment, being pregnant, they're going to be lower key than normal. Like, there'll be definitely a snack and definitely a main. Sometimes pudding will be shortbread ice cream. Sometimes pudding will just be wine.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I very much peddle on my newsletter, like 4 courses is a great, really like generous way of hosting. But I also don't expect people to do 4 courses if they don't want to, because it's just not feasible always.
Yeah, and like there's no point taking on more than you can handle, because then you're just on the back foot from the get-go.
Exactly. So then I'll do the menu and if I can do any prep in advance, I will. Usually try and get at least 2 or 3 things done. If I'm like super tight for time, then I'll make sure the menu is just probably a pasta, because I know that like I won't cook the pasta till they're there. I'll make the sauce, whatever the sauce is. I'll maybe have made it, maybe I won't have, but like I know that it's like the quickest, easiest thing that gives the most joy, and that I'm the best at doing as well. Like, you know, for some people there's other things that works, but that for me, pasta is a thing that works in that. On Friday night, I think pasta's looking pretty likely.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But we do have a pudding, so
I mean, if all else fails and you've got pudding, no one will be disappointed. Okay, so let's set the scene. Where is your dream dinner party going to be taking place?
I feel like probably I got married in Bologna last summer, and we had this amazing time, and we love Bologna as a place. But actually, after Bologna, we went to Piemonte, which is like a wine region to the northwest of Italy. There's just some absolutely breathtaking, like, rolling hills. And I'm from Somerset, so I'm a big rolling hills gal. Like, I love a bit of countryside. It's just like the most stunning, beautiful, green, bucolic like place. So I'd probably have my dinner party like at dusk in a field with a sunset, like with vineyards and, you know, good smells and like church bells in the distance, and like that kind of dinner party, which is completely like after my anesthesia, very difficult to pull together, but luckily I have loads of people to help me. So actually it's no problem at all.
Yeah, you get like a little kitchen built in the field somewhere.
Yeah, someone's got a kitchen, I'm using it, everything's there, it's fine.
That sounds amazing. I would love to go to Bologna. It's on my list.
It is a great place. I would say don't go in the summer, it's too hot now. It's too hot, but go spring or like autumn. Sensational.
What made you decide to get married in Italy?
Always been quite obsessed with Italy. We grew up spending holidays in Italy. I'm not Italian, have no Italian heritage at all. but I did do modern languages at uni, and I actually studied French and Spanish, and I'm still fluent in Spanish. When I started working in the restaurant, the first restaurant job that I got, it was an Italian restaurant called Cafe Murano by Angela Hartnett, and I would say 90% of the staff were Italian. I'm very lucky that I have just one of those like language ears. Like there's two things I'm really good at, it's cooking and it's learning languages.
Wish I was good at learning languages. I'm so bad.
It's definitely a brain thing though, but like because like I have that, but there are so many things that I'm so shit at, like anything with figures, any kind of like dexterous manual thing. I'm like, likewise, my husband, who is incredibly smart guy, if I like when we're in another country and I'm like, Tom, the word for this is this, he literally does like a Joey Tribbiani. He will say a completely different word and be like, I'm like, what did you hear me say? Like, that's not what I said.
I feel like you only need one of you in the couple to be able to do the job.
It's just how some people's brains work. My brain is luckily one of those that loves languages. So I started picking up Italian when I was working at Cafe Murano. When I was freelancing, I found out about this culinary holiday company that was running these amazing ritzy holidays in a palazzo near Venice. So I did a couple of summers working out there on these holidays, picked up even more Italian, and basically I've just spent increasing amounts of time there, like every summer, to the point now where my Italian is pretty good. I can't like write a letter, but I can get by very comfortably. And I actually tried to move there right before COVID. I tried to move to Bologna because I was really sick of being freelance, and I was like, I just want someone to tell me what to do again. I just need to go and work in like a pasta shop and be shouted at by a nonna for 6 months. Like, this is what I'm doing. So I booked a flight in like March 2020 to Bologna. And obviously the first place that shut down was Italy. So actually it was really lucky that I didn't go, because I think I would have been stuck there and lonely as fuck. But it was kind of like a missed, there was like this thing of like, oh, I didn't get to do that. Right after we got engaged, 4 or 5 years later, Tom and I went to Bologna with some friends. It was so nice to share this city that I had discovered and I loved with him for the first time. And he was like, God, it's amazing here. The wine's amazing. The food's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is some of the best food, if not the best food in Italy, I think.
Yeah.
Our friends were like, why don't you just get married here? So I was like, would you come to that? Like, would you pay for that?
Well, that's what you worry about, isn't it? Yeah.
And they were like, definitely. So that's what we did. And everyone did come, which was very nice.
I think that's the only thing that you worry about, isn't it, when you have a abroad wedding? You just don't want to put people out. But actually, sometimes people love an opportunity to go.
We gave people tons of notice, and we were like, if this isn't going to be possible for you, we totally understand, like, this is a big ask. And I think, there's a lot of discourse about like abroad weddings being really selfish, and there is maybe some truth to that, but like also, if you don't want to go to the wedding, you just don't have to go. Like, we'll pay for it, like whether you come or not. Like, but anyway, we were very lucky that almost everyone could make it. It was very hot though, I will say that. It was a sweaty day. Well, we got married in August, which is like the hottest month. And everyone said when we were planning it, all the Italians were like, don't worry about it, it'll be absolutely fine. And then like 6 months later, they were like, oh no, it's going to be very hot. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And we were like, why didn't you tell us this? Like, when we were booking the date in.
But then you got to run with it.
Ran with it. It was fine. It was too late then, so we just cracked on.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so talk to me about the table. Are you into tablescaping?
I am. I've noticed that because of being pregnant, sorry to use that as an excuse for absolutely everything, but anyway, I haven't really been as like focused on my tablescaping as I normally would be, because I really love flowers. Like, floral arrangements are I love them, but it's just like going out to get the flowers from the florist versus ordering everything from Waitrose. I'm gonna choose the order. But yeah, I would say I'm quite like minimalist, but like shabby chic minimalist. So I love like a white tablecloth, very clean, with really like natural florals all the way down, but not like massive arrangements, like very petite arrangements of a few different flowers. And if they were in like Campari soda bottles, or little flower frogs in bowls, like, that's perfect. Probably just lots of delicious vintage crockery. because I have a deep obsession with collecting vintage crockery, and I have no single matching plate, and everything I buy is from the charity shop. The St Christopher's on Lordship Lane, great charity shop that.
It's a good one. They're quite good at luring you in, actually.
It's a big one as well. It's huge.
And they change like what they've got in the windows and on that like table as you go in, like very often.
So that's what I'd probably do. You know, lots of beautiful glassware that's very like clean and crisp, and I guess I would probably say it's an eclectic mix of like clean vibes and also quite like chaotic stuff, like the cutlery, but none of it matches.
Are you keeping things quite monochrome color wise? So having it like quite clean, but with all your vintage bits.
With vintage bits, it's a bit hard. I'd focus on like definitely a few specific tones with like the flowers, like yellows and peaches. With the cutlery and with the crockery, I'd be a bit more relaxed about that. I'd probably say nothing shiny. That's actually something that bothers me more. If it's a really shiny, like lacquered plate with loads of reflection, I hate that. Like I want it to be quite matte. I want it to look like it's sat in someone's car boot for 10 years.
Why do you think that is? Is it to do with because you're buying stuff to shoot with, or is it because it just bothers you?
Basically, like crockery, if it's like china, shouldn't be shiny. Conversely, I will say, I'm going to contradict myself, I love like a metal tray, like they're very chic at the moment. I'm sure you've probably got shitloads because you're very stylish. All of the beautiful like silver service trays, because that is quite in its own right.
Yeah, they've really come back in.
Yeah, they have, right? That can all be reflective, but the crockery shouldn't have any bounce back because, you know, when you're taking a picture of food and there's a big shine on the plate, it really distracts from what's on there.
I'm kind of the same in like, I'm sure you can justify to yourself when you see something or like a piece of crockery and you're like, yeah, I'll get that because like I know I can use it for work and I can use it for hosting and like so the shininess comes in that respect, right? Whereas like if you were just buying it for yourself and you hadn't been doing this as your job, you probably would be less inclined to care.
Yeah, that's so right. I literally justify everything that I cook with or serve with as a work expense. So nothing isn't within the parameters of like, what will food look good on this? Will this shoot well on this? What dish could I do on this kind of thing? Like, and that doesn't mean they don't bring me joy, because they definitely do. It's not like I'm not able to treat myself. I did buy myself I bought myself a butter dish at the beginning of the year when I was in my first trimester, feeling very sorry for myself. And I love it, and I still love it, but it's so dumb because it doesn't actually fit a block of butter in it.
Oh no!
Too small. And Tom's just like, remember that time when you bought that butter dish and it literally just doesn't fit butter in
You
it?
just have to cut your butter block like in half before you put it in.
That's a purchase where I wasn't really thinking practically. I was like, this is going to bring me joy and I'm going to buy it.
Sometimes you just need to be impractical. Things that bring you joy are impractical, and that's fine. To be able to justify a lot of things as a business expense.
No, hope HMRC are not listening.
It's one of the things about like styling generally, isn't it? It's like anything is a prop.
Yeah, anything is a prop. Literally anything is a prop. That's so true. And I think if like anyone out there who's looking to get into what we do, that's where you need to like reframe. Literally anything you have could be a prop. Anything that you have also will speak to the style that you want to put out. So when you're creating content, for example, you know, use the stuff that you feel like is the most you and the most true to yourself, and be consistent with that, because obviously, like, you know, there is a certain amount of like adaptability. You need to be able to show different styles a bit, but actually to have a unique style is also really important.
How did you find that when you were starting to post more on your own?
I found it really hard. I like didn't understand it. It took me ages to get into it because I'm not like, you know, a lot of people in our line of work, and maybe you are one of these people, were like, you know, even went as far as to go to like art school or art college or like were graphic designers or like all these things, and I would never was that person. Like I did do art GCSE and I did get a B, but but that's as far as it went.
You literally like nailed me in like one sentence there. I literally did graphic design at uni and then was like, graphic design's not the one. But all helpful skills.
You have like that little bit more visual training, where like for me it took a long time to understand what visually I wanted to represent and show in my content. And I get bogged down with with food, especially when you're making videos, where I want it to be educational, but it also needs to look beautiful. There's sometimes, like, I would probably say that I'm not a very good creator in the sense that I record way too much of whatever I'm filming because I'm worried about missing the step where it's like you see the onions and they're just a little bit darker than they were before. But actually, when you then watch content back, that doesn't read. You can't see that. And what's the most important bit is it going on the plate, or it, like the collection of ingredients and all of those things. It's a constant learning curve. I'm constantly learning, changing how I do things.
Knowing that is something that you want to do and you want to share, but actually finding that way that you personally put that out there and share that and edit that, and that's like a whole thing that I guess when you start you don't think about, or isn't your area of expertise. Like, you want to share the food, but it's like, how do I?
Yeah, if you told me 10 years ago that one of my main earning points would be editing videos that I filmed myself on a computer, I'm literally like computer illiterate. I have never been trained on how to use any software ever. So I am literally like, how is it possible that I have to make money from this job that I could barely do? But you learn, and you have to learn. So you get better at it. And now I look at my content versus the content I made like 3 years ago, and I'm like, wow, that's much slicker. Well done. You did improve. It took you 3 years, but you did.
Well, practice makes perfect, right? All good things take time. But also, I think you don't want to like fit into the box that everybody necessarily fits into, right? Like, there's something about figuring it out, but also still having it represent you and like how you do things. And so sometimes I think content that isn't like super slick is nicer, because it's not about the way that it's been filmed or put across. It's about the content.
Yeah. And things need to be, as much as they need to be aspirational, they also need to be achievable. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like sometimes you'll see pictures that have gone viral of it's like a sort of slightly cluttered, like cottagey vibe. And that stuff is so much more popular because people are like, yeah, there's a little bit of mess. There's a little bit of like shabby chic. And that feels way more natural to me than something that's very polished and very curated. It's the same with content, and it's the same, with the food you make. If someone else can't make it, then there wasn't any point in you making it.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, there's a whole mess in the background that you didn't see on the camera.
9 times out of 10? A million times out of 10.
Even in those like super minimal interior shoots, there'll be shitloads of stuff behind the camera that was like moved or taken out.
I remember when the Modern House came to photograph our flat that we sold to move down to Southeast London. And he was like, get rid of everything. Just get rid of all of it. Like, I can't describe to you, no kettle, no microwave, none of that in the shops, like a very clean surface. And I was like, really? But actually, when I look at the pictures, I'm like, yeah, Dad, that did look better. Like, in every shoot, there is a million things that have been taken away, put somewhere else, so that everyone thinks that that's how you live, but that isn't.
It's like aspirational, and like we all like to think that we could live like that, but like I even just like this corner of stuff like it just doesn't happen. Especially if you're someone that likes things and is like creative and likes collecting stuff and picking stuff up on your travels or whatever. Like sometimes I see people's like super clean house and I'm like you must have so much self-control.
And also it's a bit about like what we were talking about before, about like everything for us is a prop or a tool. So it's like I have this double need for it, so I'm just gonna buy more of it, keep it on hand. Like the induction stove needs to be on top of my fridge over there, because otherwise when I need my induction stove to film in that corner of the wall, but it looks cluttered as fuck, and it's just
yeah, often I'll like have a job and I'll just come into the living room and like have a look at what's on the shelves and be like, can I use any of these things? And that, but then I also have the problem that like half of my personal stuff is always like at the studio, and then half of my studio stuff is always at home, because I'm always like borrowing things from where I probably shouldn't if I was more organized. But alas.
My husband was away last week and it was very, very hot. And arguably I should have brought one of the 2 fans that I was using in my bedroom downstairs with me to cook, but I just couldn't face the 3 flights of stairs. So I just left them there. and cooked basically in my underwear for 3 days. I was like, this is fine. As I like splashed caramel on my baby.
Oh, God.
That didn't happen, but like, it's not ideal.
Okay, so who are we inviting to your dream dinner?
I think for a live, I'd love to meet Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, yeah, good one.
A millennial icon, and she's worked on the most iconic show of our generation for sure. The Gen Zers who listen, hello everybody, we're going to be like, who? I just think she's very cool. She's had a very cool life. I'd love to talk to her about like what she's been through, all the stuff that's gone on, like poor old Matt LeBlanc, but like also like just all of the stories from back then. And she's just a feminist bitch. Like, I love her. She's great. She's
Yeah, I feel like she'd have some great chat and like also some really good gossip, I think.
great gossip. She's obviously up for a laugh, like, social. She's funny. She's clever. So yeah, I think I'd go Jen Ann for my life. Dead person, Prince. Prince would be another amazing person to come to dinner party. I'm so sad that I never got to see Prince perform. They would just be like the best guest, I think. You just know they've got all these stories. They got incredible stories, but also incredibly talented. Like, I don't know if Have you ever seen the episode of New Girl where Prince is in and Nick's like, ah! Like, I would be like that at the beginning and then I'd be fine.
That's a good episode. Also, I think, maybe I'm making this up actually, I think that Prince was a fan of New Girl and asked to be in it. Because I feel like such a rogue thing to be like, Prince, do you want to be in this episode of New Girl? Whereas like you can totally see it being something that he's like brought about.
Totally. Anyway, I just think he'd be so good and a performance might follow the meal at the end. In fact, if we could end the night on karaoke doing Purple Rain, like I would die happy. So that would be my dead guest. And then fictional, do you know who'd be great? The Vicar of Dibley, Dawn French.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
She's such a boozer. She'd be so fun. Obviously, assuming that at this dinner party I'm not pregnant so that I can actually enjoy it.
This is pre or post birth.
Yeah, one of those. She's just like up for a laugh, would be like hilarious with Prince, hilarious with Jennifer Aniston. I think
great group, lots of energy.
Yeah, I'm not even like a super fan of the Vicar of Dibley. I just think I love the like little beginning like cold opens that they do that are just very funny. Now I'm like, oh shit, what about The Office? I should have picked something. Oh, it doesn't matter. But having the Vicar of Dibley,
I'll let you have a four.
It would be Michael Scott. Like, it would have to be.
He would actually be an incredible dinner party guest.
Yeah, but he'd probably annoy me. In reality, he'd probably annoy me more than entertain me. I still would have to have him.
Be quite fun to watch. There's actually that episode, isn't there, where they have a dinner party and it all is a bit chaotic.
Yeah, it's one of the best episodes because it is, honestly, it's psychotic. And Jan famously is like, oh, I've just put the osso buco in and they've just got there. And it's like going to take 3 hours. And that the inner chef in me is like, no, never. Like, I can't believe you did that, Jan. Obviously, because she's kind of unhinged. But anyway.
She is so unhinged. Okay, amazing. Yeah, that would be, they would be a great dinner party lineup. What do you think makes a good dinner party guest or vice versa? Like, what's a dinner party hosting ick?
It really annoys me, coming back to dietaries, if you tell me you have a dietary, but then when you come, you miraculously change your mind and you're like, oh, actually, I do want a bit of the meat. That pisses me off. God love you. If you were going to eat the other thing from the beginning, you could have saved me a lot of time and a lot of effort and money. Yeah. So be honest with me. If it's like a hard rule of like, I don't eat meat, or if it's actually a soft rule, and if you see what's going down on other people's plates and you change your mind, just tell me that it's a soft one and I'll be a little bit less worried about you. Like,
yeah, 1,000%. No, we had a similar one recently on Adam Bush's episode where he
that's so funny.
Where he said the same thing. He was like, I don't care about the dietaries, just give me enough notice. Don't mess around with them.
Don't tell me like day of, I'm sorry, I'm allergic to prawns. Like that's not enough time. Interesting. I think that's because Adam's like a trained chef as well. So clearly we've both been scarred by these like, because I remember working on weddings when I was like 19 in my uni summers. I used to work for a caterers. People would literally change their minds as they saw food going down, and they'd be like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, but I actually would really like the meat. And it's like, we didn't fucking make any for you because you said you were a vegetarian. And obviously we did actually have spares because you'd always have spares, but like it's just cheeky as shit, I think.
I think if you're going to give dietaries, you've got to stick to them.
Yeah, just be a grown up. That's done. It's not like being relaxed. Like if you're relaxed about your dietaries, don't give it. So that would be an ick. What's like a great thing? Guess who bring like really lush crisps is a big. Me and Tom always ask for crisps because we can't get enough crisps, and because we're actually quite hard to buy for because he's a loves his wine. So like it's quite, I think it's quite intimidating people to buy Tom wine, and that's obviously a really great dinner party thing to bring. So definitely crisps, like great, like maybe regional or sort of like cool countries. Like if you can find an unusual crisp, that's going to win a lot of points with us.
I don't think anyone would ever turn down crisps. Crisps are just like a great thing to bring anywhere.
Totally. And they're also a great contribution to the start of the evening. You know, it's nice when you can be like, oh, great, well, let's open these. You know, it's actually nice for guests to taste their own crisps. I don't know about you, but when I buy some crisps for someone else's house, I'm expecting to eat them.
Yeah, I hate that. When you bought something and you're like fully intending to have it.
You're like, should we open that? And they're like, no, we got this. And you're like...
But you can never be like, well, it depends whose house you're at. Depends how friendly you are. If it was a really good friend, I'd be like, by the way, we need to open the crisps.
Just generally like lush, helpful people. It's awkward to do clearing up when people are still at your house. So we tend not to do it. And it's also awkward because you actually know so much better like how you want it done and where you want things to be put and like who's in charge of which bit, you know. But it's so nice if people offer to help, and even just doing a little bit of helpful things is genuinely really nice. Even if I say to you no repeatedly, like thank you for offering, I am genuinely really touched.
Yeah, love when people offer, but you never have to. Or like if on their way out people are like grabbing a few glasses and like putting them in the kitchen, like that kind of thing. Okay, music, what are you gonna have on in the background?
Tom and I made an amazing playlist for our drinking bit of our wedding, like the aperitivo that we had after we got married, and it's quite eclectic. There's some really fun like you know, like samba and also kind of like big bandy stuff, and then there's a bit of Hall & Oates, and there's a bit of, you know, Belle Biv DeVoe. Like it's a very odd selection, but it's a really good drinking vibey but not like dominating playlist, and I would say I'd probably have that on.
I think it's nice to mix up the vibes.
You catch more people like that. Someone might be like, oh, I love this song, that another person will hate, but then if you've got a really bonkers song, the next choice.
Keep people on their toes. Yeah, I often go back and listen to the playlist I made for our wedding, because you basically just like chuck all your favourite things on it.
We actually had to stop listening to it for a bit because it was like all we listened to and we got in the car.
Oh no, and then you may just worried you were going to make yourself bored.
Exactly. Like I think we need a bit of a break from the wedding stuff.
Can you imagine? Suddenly hates every song. Food and drink. Let's talk about the menu.
I'm just going to go off the top of my head because, as you know, I haven't thought about this at all. I always, like, as a special thing, love crab. So for a special occasion, I think crab is just unmissable. So I'd actually probably do like warm baguettes, picked crab, butter, mayonnaise, maybe some like radishes and fresh lettuces, and just get everyone to just make themselves little crab nibbles as they're sitting down, and kind of like loads of mayonnaise. Did I say mayonnaise? I love mayonnaise. And yeah, maybe it's dressed crab or picked crab, or like just some beautiful pile of like crabs, and just kind of more French, if anything, in vibe, but like a little crab bread buffet as a starter.
Is there somewhere where you have had that?
I made it for New Year's Eve this year because I just found out I was pregnant, and we were supposed to be going to to some friends to have like oysters and champagne. Immediately had to cancel, and we just pretended I was ill, but it was so obvious. Like, Rosie's not coming to New Year's Eve because she's too ill. Like, what could that possibly be? So instead, Tom and I just bought crab, had it with like hot baguette, salad, and actually we had it with chips. And if it wasn't a starter, I'd be like, bang on the chips, have like crab and chip butties. That would be my like starter. And I also think for a dinner party host and for the guests, a bit of DIY is really important. You bond better with the other people you're around if you're passing plates and you're sharing and you're speaking. You can talk about like what's the sort of perfect ratios here. Like, it's a good kind of conversation starter to watch people build their own little thing and be like, oh, interesting, you don't put the chili on, or like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, and more interactive. You don't have people just like waiting for you to pop a plate down in front of them, you know.
Exactly, 100%. And I also think from a tablescaping and table perspective, it looks way more generous and plentiful and vibrant and lush. I genuinely don't think I would ever do a plated course ever. Like, I can't imagine putting down a plate of food in front of someone. I would always put something in the middle of the table for stuff, people to help themselves, because I just think it looks better and it's easier and people love it.
And also it means people can take as much or as little as they want.
Exactly. The generosity is the big thing for me. Like, people feeling like they've been like really well taken care of, you know. So that would be my starter. And then the main, a big linguine vongole, like way too much of it. I hate stingy portions, especially when it's something as delicious as vongole. Like, I'd want there to be like a serious pile of it, and like and more bread, like for dunking and swooshing, and you know, lots and lots of fresh herbs and lemon and stuff. And I love clams. I love that, you know, eating with my hands and everyone else kind of getting stuck in a sort of summery setting in Italy. That's
what are you drinking with starter and main?
Starter, probably dirty martinis.
Vodka or gin?
Gin. I'm actually a gin girl, but I quite like washing my gin or my vodka with olive pits for like a few days before. So if you ever like cheek sexy olives for like a pasta sauce, put the pits in the bottle of gin or vodka and put it in the fridge for a couple of days, and that does like gently perfume it. So you've got like extra olivey, briny, delicious.
Oh, that's a good tip.
It is a good tip. I do like that tip. Don't leave it too long, it will go sour.
How long is too long?
I think anything more than like 2 weeks is too long. For main, it would probably be a white burgundy. There's a white burgundy that Tom and I love that I bought for him a few years ago. I haven't had it in a while, but it's just like a really stunning, rich white wine that's like a real treat. And I'd love to say a fizzy, but I find eating with fizzy wine it makes me pungent. For pudding, I love a sticky toffee pudding, but I don't think it's right for that menu. I'd almost be tempted to go for like a creme brulee, like something just very clean. And I love like a set cream, like a panna cotta or a creme brulee. Like, I love the texture of those, the mouthfeel. Sometimes it's like classic and simple with pudding is just all you need.
Especially if you're in a warmer climate as well. Like, you don't want to go away with like belly full of sticky toffee pudding like you would in the UK in the winter.
And you want to do the sticky toffee pudding justice, right? You need like cream and custard. And yeah, I think I'd say a creme brulee, just a beautifully done, dense creme brulee, very silky, nice and cold. I've got a real thing, maybe you've had this in your pregnancy as well, but like, I'm obsessed with cold desserts, like frozen or cold things. Like, I just need them all the time.
We just like constantly have ice creams in the freezer at the moment, and every time we go to the supermarket we buy a different one. It's like we're trying to try the whole freezer.
When else are you going to do it? Like, you might as well. That's probably what my pudding would be. And for drinking with pudding, I don't really go a bundle on dessert wines, to be honest. I'm not a quite cultured enough person for that. So
I don't like dessert wines. They're too sweet.
At that point, I'm like, can we go back to cocktails? Like, you know, are we going out after? Should we have another drink? Like, maybe I would have something that's completely incongruous. Doesn't make any sense with the pudding, but it's one of my favorite drinks, which is a Cina spritz. And it's an Italian aperitif made from artichokes, but it's pronounced Cina.
Made from artichokes?
Yeah. You can't taste the artichokes and it doesn't make you fart. So all good. But it's really delicious in a spritz. It's probably my favourite spritz to order in Italy.
I've never had that before. I've recognised the bottle though.
Yeah, your bottle you might recognise, but like actually in the UK it's not that easily found. Like there are more places now in London, but like that will do it, but not everywhere. Anyway, it's just a little bit more bitter than Aperol, a little bit more savoury. Makes a great spritz, and I love a Cynar spritz. So I can imagine like a nice cold icy Cynar at the end of the meal. It doesn't make sense at all. The Italians would be like, "You're insane."
But that's fine. Also, you said, are we going out afterwards? But I feel like with the guests that you've invited, you're kind of inclined to.
Yeah, you're definitely going out. That's it. You're gonna get lit, so like you might as well have a great drink.
I don't think they're going home anytime
No.
soon. What generally happens at the end of your dinner parties? Like, do you have any sort of entertainment? Is there a point where you're like, get out, like I'm done with the dinner?
I would say I have become quite the like, okay, time to go. Like, I definitely feel the older I get, the more my social battery wears. And I often find as well, and maybe this is just because we're hosting on nights where we've given ourselves, a really busy day the next day, like I'm the least likely to get wasted at my own dinner party. I'm much more likely to get shit-faced at someone else's house. Well, it's not my responsibility to clear up or anything.
Somebody else could clear this up for you if that's what's holding you back.
So it might be different in this case. It might be that we will go out, like, and I think going out is better than staying in. Like, I would rather do that. The only probably exception to this is the hat game, which I don't know if you've ever played the hat game. It's basically, some people call it like celebrity, but basically you put a load of names in a hat, pick out the names, and you all have to like, you're in teams and you describe the person, and then the next round you can only use one word to describe them, and then the next round you have to do it wordlessly.
We play the same thing, but just with objects or people. Like you can put whatever you want in the hat.
Yeah. If we're gonna do anything after the dinner party, if it's a group of people I really like and I don't mind them staying at my house for extra time, we'll play the hat game.
Nice.
Or we'll go out, like go to a pub or go.
Yeah, relocate. If you can find a pub in the middle of the field that you're having your dinner in.
Well, hopefully that's the magical pub is at the end of the field. It would be like an Irish pub. It would be like there'd be live music. We'd all have like crispy, delicious Guinnesses and just like send the night away with the Irish. Prince would be thrilled. So would the Vicar of Dibley. So would Dawn French.
I think it sounds great. I want to come. Have you had any like weird food pregnancy cravings?
Other than like severe ice cream craving at the moment, not really. It was more in my first trimester. I hated most things, hated really stinky things, hated like onions and stuff. It was just so unnatural to me, being someone who's worked in food their whole life and who was at that point needing to work and continue making food content. Like I can honestly tell you I ate zero of the things that I wrote about or shared on my stories or Instagram in that time, because I literally just couldn't stomach it. Like I just even as and I had to use Tom to taste stuff and like be honest with me about things, because I was like, ugh. And I got a real aversion to leftovers as well. Like I couldn't eat anything that wasn't bankingly fresh.
It's so strange, isn't it? I had a real aversion to leeks. Yeah, like we cook leeks quite a lot. So Sam was cooking leeks and I was like, no.
I think the only thing that I really like, for example, the thing that really took Tom back was I would buy things that I would never normally buy, like ready-made chicken goujons. And I'd just be like, I really want these. Like I'm desperate for some breaded chicken. We're having goujons for supper. Yeah. Or like a Sainsbury's quiche Lorraine with a baked potato.
Just the like random things that like in that moment have come into your head and you're like, yeah, that's it. I could never tell Sam what I actually wanted for dinner if he suggested things. But if he suggested things, I could tell him if I didn't want it, like straight away. I'd be like, you haven't got there yet, but it's not that.
The one thing I also wanted more than I ever have is like a really like white person's Thai green curry. Like, you know, like a sort of really
bad one
curry. Chicken breast, which I never normally eat. I was desperate for it. I was like, that with some rice, perfect.
Yeah, I was like, first trimester, it was beige or fresh fruit. There was
Yeah.
like zero in between. I ate
No.
so many sour cream and onion Pringles.
Oh, really? I don't think that would have been too strong for me. But I ate like 5 home size, like big size Lurpaks, getting through them just with toast and eggs. Because I was just like, this is all I want to eat. And butter is really important.
Okay, I've got some quick fire questions for you to end on. Your go-to cupboard staple.
Anchovies.
Favourite pasta shape.
Linguine.
Best restaurant you've been to recently.
I would say probably the best restaurant I've been to recently was a restaurant in Sicily when we went away on our holiday, which is not a very cool answer because the people can't go. But it's in Palermo and it's called Trattoria Corona, and it was great.
You might find a couple people that are like, yes, that was the recommendation I needed. Your go-to snack.
Crisps. Specifically, I would say I'm a jalapeno dill kind of like end of that spectrum. So if you can, like those kinds of crisps, either in potato or like puffed corn form.
If you could only eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Probably Italian food. Like, it's a boring answer, but like pasta is my favorite food.
Favorite supermarket.
I go to Sainsbury's because I enjoy shopping in Sainsbury's. That I know the layouts roughly. I know the products. But I order from Waitrose because Waitrose have better for shooting for when I'm working. They have a better availability of products, and they have a better range of fresh products.
Go-to hangover meal when you're not pregnant.
Tom and I probably order the most is Thai food. When we lived in Hackney, we'd order from a place on Mare Street called Sawasdi, and they just did really good drunken noodles. Spicy, noodly, maybe a little bit of curry rice as well. Like,
top 3 herbs and spices. Separate them if you need to, yeah.
out of herbs, I'd say parsley. I love parsley. Like, people give parsley a little shit. Parsley is great. And I would also controversially say coriander. I love coriander as a herb, not as a spice. I do like it as a spice, but not as much. Dried mint.
What are you using your dried mint for?
I would say just like anything that's vaguely central Mediterranean, from Eastern Europe towards Turkey and like that kind of food. Loves a bit of dried mint. Spices, cumin, cinnamon. Not really for savory cooking, but for sweet cooking, I'd take cinnamon over vanilla. And then I think my third would actually be, the most important one. Oh my God. My absolute favorite spice is nutmeg. I love nutmeg. It's a huge, huge lifter for like cream. It makes things taste more creamy, makes things taste more like meaty. It's clever, nutmeg.
Okay. I think let's end on clever nutmeg. Thank you so much. It's been so good to hear about your dream dinner. Do you want to let people know where they can find you if they don't follow you already?
You can find me at Rosie MacKean Pasta Queen on Instagram and TikTok. My Substack newsletter is called The Dinner Party. And also you can find my podcast, Lunchbox MV, on all good podcast platforms.
I don't know why that made me laugh because whenever I talk about the podcast, I'm like, yep, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah, it's very hard to like narrow that down, isn't it?
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, and your book. People should go and buy your book.
And my cookbook, Good Time Cooking, is available at all good bookstores, independent and large.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was so good to chat to you.
Thank you, Callie. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Tables to Talk About. If you liked it, I'd love if you'd hit subscribe and left us a little review. It really helps people find us and means I can keep lining up dreamy guests to chat all things dinner parties. If we've got you in the mood to host, you can find all the playful tableware and styling bits you need over at Studio Dine, Studio Dine Store and Tables to Talk About. And we've just launched a Substack. It's where I'm sharing all the juicy behind the scenes bits, exclusive extras from the pod, hosting tips, recipes, mood boards, restaurant recommendations, the works. Basically a little peek behind the curtain. Head to the link in the show notes to subscribe and come and hang out with us there too. See you next time.